Hello and welcome to Mathematics with Simon. I'm Simon. Today we're going to look at sketching lines and quadratics. So firstly, sketching a line that's expressed as y equals mx plus c. X is the horizontal coordinate and y is the vertical coordinate. So three things here. C is the point where the line hits the y-axis. M tells you how steep the line is. And if m is positive, then the line goes from the bottom left to the top right. And if m is negative, then the line goes from the top left to the bottom right. So here's an example of changing the constant. We've got y equals x plus 4 here that intercepts the y-axis at 4, and y equals x plus 8 intercepts at 8, and it just is just moved up. It's moved up by 4 units. We're just adding 4 onto all the y values. That's just why it moves up. Changing the gradient, so we've got y equals x plus 8 here, which hits the y-axis at 8, and then you've got y equals 2x plus 8 is just steeper, so it's higher on the right and lower on the left. Changing the sign of the gradient, so this is y equals x plus 8 that goes from bottom left to top right. This is y equals minus x plus 8, which goes from top left to bottom right, both hitting at 8. Drawing quadratics, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. C is the point where the curve hits the y-axis. As a gets smaller, the curve gets flatter, and as a gets bigger, the curve gets steeper. If a is positive, then we have a U-shape, and if it is negative, then we have a dome. Negative c and positive a, or positive c and negative a, tell us that we have roots for the quadratic. So if it's negative c, then it's going to intersect the y-axis below the x-axis, and if it's positive a, then it's going to go off to plus infinity and minus infinity, so it has to cross the axis, so there has to be roots. We'll draw some pictures to illustrate this. So firstly, this is c, so y equals x squared is the basic quadratic, and then y equals x squared plus 16 is the same thing, moved up by 16, and it intersects the axis at 16. This is increasing a, so this is y equals x squared plus 10, intersecting the axis at 10. This is y equals 4x squared plus 10, it's just it's a much steeper curve, so going from 4x squared plus 10 to x squared plus 10, we make it flatter. Then this is y equals x squared plus 10 compared with y equals minus x squared plus 10. So when we go to minus x squared plus 10, we go from a U shape to a dome shape. It turns it upside down. Basically, because if it's x squared plus 10, when you go off to positive infinity, the function goes to positive infinity, or negative infinity, the function goes to positive infinity. Whereas y equals minus x squared plus 10, you go off to minus infinity in both cases when you go high or low. And then here is an example of negative c and positive a, and show why we have roots. So this is y equals x squared minus 16, so this is positive a and negative c. And we can see that it's crossing the y-axis at minus 16, but it's going off to positive infinity and negative infinity, so it has to cross, in this case, at 4 and minus 4. And then this is the other example, y equals minus x squared, this should be here. This should be minus x squared plus 16. If it's minus x squared plus 16, then it's a dome shape, but it's crossing at 16, which means it has to cross the axis. We can also think of it in terms of the discriminant of the quadratic formula, because the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So b squared is always positive, and if one of a and c is negative, then minus 4ac is going to be positive. So that means b squared minus 4ac will always be positive, so there'll always be a square root, so there'll always be roots. That's the kind of algebraic interpretation rather than the graphical interpretation. And then we think about the b, the linear term. So here you've got y equals x squared plus 16, which is the basic quadratic, and then if you add on 4x, it basically lifts it up on the right side and takes it down on the left side, because you're basically overlaying the line y equals 4x. You're adding on the line y equals 4x, which will lift up on the right and push down on the left. So it sort of tilts the quadratic. This is the least important one, really. I mean, these are the ones that matter. Knowing when you've got roots, knowing when you go from a U shape to a dome, knowing that increasing A makes it go steeper, and then just knowing that the constant gives you the y-intercept. I hope you liked the video. Please hit like if you did. You're very welcome to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'd love to hear your ideas, and most of all, I hope you enjoy your mathematics.